welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Lisa Bell, along with our producer, Thomas Mates. A Central Florida woman who works as a software engineer by trade recently transformed her life, dropping 100 pounds in the process. She decided to turn her experience into a nonprofit encouraging healthy lifestyles in others. But when the pandemic began, she shifted focus again, this time toward helping people dealing with food insecurity. So today we are so happy to be joined by Shereece Mitchell from Butterfly Lifestyle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I was so excited when I got contacted by Thomas.
So tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And
I was born in Jamaica, so I lived there about 19 years. So I've been here actually half my life. So I was born in Jamaica, moved to South Florida, attended Florida Atlantic University. That's where I have the 2 bachelors in computer science and computer engineering, and a master's in information technology and management. And then when I went through, 2015 is when I started the transformation journey. And at 2018, when it began, when it got to its peak, where I decided I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and I transformed my life. I even, I got baptized, I became a Christian, and I transformed my life. I realized I felt like there's something more, because before I used to feel like there's something missing in life. Sitting in the office every day, I used to have a window and I used to be like looking outside. I was like, there have to be more to life than just sitting at a desk, each day, this can't be it, kind of thing. And but when I found myself, is what I call it. I decided I was going to move to Orlando. So I moved here in 2019. And I believe it's been like a blessing to move here, because in South Florida, I'm allergic to everything. Here, I actually thought that I could run, because I didn't know I was a runner. And I moved here without my medication and anything, and found out I could actually run. And then I didn't even realize I was that good of a runner until people were kind of impressed by my time. And I was just like, so I just didn't, it didn't seem like anything. And then I Googled and I was like, oh, okay, I can run.
Yeah.
And then in the process, I decided, when I decided to move, I said, I'm going to leave. I left my family, my friends. I sold my house, quit my job, and I moved to Orlando. And I said, I'm going to start this nonprofit, and I'm going to, so I got an attorney to help me with paper, because I don't want to mess up God's work. I don't want to mess up this nonprofit. It means too much to me. And then I got injured within like 3 months, and I had an ankle injury. The doctors claimed it was like a minor ankle sprain, but no one could understand why I was still in pain. And, but in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to get back on stage. But the ankle injury became one of the biggest blessings ever, because it allowed me to kind of really focus on the nonprofit and to really hone in on what I want to do to help the community. Mm-hmm. So that, that's where my focus shifted from, let me compete and be on the stage, to really, how can I help the community even more? Mm-hmm. So that's when, I was doing, I even got certified as a health and wellness coach and a nutritional wellness consultant, because I didn't want people to see me as the nonprofit founder who lost weight, who thought, because she lost weight, she knows enough to be direct to help others. I wanted to add some credibility to the organization, not just my weight loss. Mm-hmm. So, that's when I started, I helped myself, I helped my friends, I helped anyone who needed it, just to be able to get enough knowledge to see how, how does your diet change? Because before, when I started my weight loss journey, I was someone who didn't, what people didn't realize, that I had all these insecurities. So I never wanted a personal trainer. I didn't want a coach. I was the one who went to the gym. I went to the furthest treadmill you could find. I was hiding the cardio machines. I really just didn't like any of those things. So I started on my own. And I thought, okay, if I cut carbs, rice, because I'm Jamaican, so we eat rice and peas and all these things. And I was like, if I cut all those things, then I should lose weight. And then so I went to a lot of vegetables and and protein. And then I thought, okay, once I got to my goal, I didn't have to maintain it, because like I said, I had no guidance. But that's also, what helped me along the way, why the nonprofit is so important, because it wasn't until I got someone who would able to help me keep accountable. I would have friends who's like, why are you still at the gym? You're tired. Just go home and sleep. But if you have someone who said, you know what, you could go home, but if you try just a little bit more, if you push yourself just a little bit more, I believe in you. That goes a far way. And that's what I had when I, started competing as a bodybuilder. I had coaches and people who came alongside me on this journey who was kind of like, you could do it. You could give up if you wanted to, but I believe in you enough to have you, to believe that you could go that extra mile. And then, so that's why with a nonprofit now, I want to come alongside someone and said, you know what, no matter what the world says, no matter how you feel or what the world says you can't do or can do, because usually the world doesn't tell you what you can do, it tells you what you can't. The way society is built these days is that it highlights, your faults, right? What you're not doing so well. It's easier for someone to point out what you're not doing so well versus, hey, good job. So I want to come alongside someone on that journey because you feel defeated when when you go on a scale and you see like the scale isn't moving and you're giving it your all. Mm-hmm. And you feel defeated when because the way stuff is situated, like if you take it as a diet versus a lifestyle, you feel like if you eat something that you shouldn't on this diet, that you cheated, and now you feel like you messed up. And again, you feel defeated. But if you treat it as a lifestyle, it says, you know what, I can eat something that's not part of my everyday diet, but it's because the lifestyle, that means my next meal, I can fix it. Tomorrow I can fix it. It's just part of who I am, just like I brush my teeth. If you fell asleep, like if you're ill and you forgot to brush your teeth because you really just couldn't, you don't say, oh my God, I have a cavity. I'm doomed. You wake up and, whenever you feel better, you go brush your teeth, right? You get dressed and you keep moving. And that's what a lifestyle is. And that's why the name is Butterfly Lifestyle, because I want you to transform and make it a lifestyle, not transform and say, it's a diet. When I hit my goal, I'm done. Yeah. Kind of thing.
And it seems like obviously you're helping people who don't have a lot of food options, but sometimes that can be very challenging because yes. It's hard enough to get food, let alone healthy food, and to incorporate all of that healthy lifestyle into a living when you're just trying to make ends meet.
Right. So that's when I pivoted to food, because I was, everyone was like, I don't understand your vision for this nonprofit. It doesn't make sense if you're transforming, like, you're doing health and, you're telling people to lose weight. How did you end up in food? And even my board, they were struggling with a concept. And, it's in I say this a lot, it's like in my mind, it made sense. And because it's like, I don't feel comfortable telling you, you know what, you should eat healthier. You're diabetic, eat healthier. And you don't have something to eat. You can't even afford a simple meal. Mm-hmm. You can't tell you. It's very hard to tell someone to do something or to encourage them to even attempt to be living a healthier lifestyle when there's nothing for them to eat, or if they eat, their child doesn't eat, or it's just so much going on. There's food is so important, but the science behind food is even more. It goes even further, mm-hmm. because if you're stressed, you could be a stress eater. So I could tell you anything you need to do, everything you need to do to live, to be healthy. But if you're a stress eater, that goes out the door. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, thank you, Shereece. But, I'm stressed, so I'm going to eat my chips, or I'm going to eat whatever I can afford to eat. And so that's why it's important for me to really try to get healthier food items. I'm working on it. I just don't have, it's not something that I have currently, but my vision for the nonprofit is far reaching, and everyone's like, your vision is just so far, but realistically, what I would really love is to have, this warehouse where I have food for no matter what type of, like catering to your illnesses and diseases, diabetic, if you're diabetic, if you have high blood pressure, cholesterol, and you should be able to come in and you can tell me what your illness is, and I can tailor make the food, the meal, your packaging, your food to what your illness is. And I want to be able to have let's say like volunteer doctors or nurses, whoever is willing to volunteer their time. And you could come in and you say, I have high blood sugar. I know, if I come in every Wednesday, I can get my blood sugar tested. Mm-hmm. I can come and get my blood pressure tested. Anything that doesn't require you to you to go to a lab and you can get like an immediate result. That's my vision for it. I also want to be able to have a kitchen so that if you come in, you can have something warm to eat. You know, you could be homeless, or we don't know what today holds, because you could go to work thinking, yeah, I got a job, and I have a job, and an hour later or by the end of the day, your employer could say, you know, I'm sorry, we have to let you go. You know, so for the people who are, you know, food insecure just in general, for the people who life is just handling them rough because we don't know what the day holds, and just for the individuals who are homeless, I want to be able for them to have a space that they could say, you know what, that organization, Butterfly Lifestyle, I know I can go there and I can get something to eat. And the same way, if you're going to get something to eat or you get something, you know, healthy, I want to be able to guide you, to educate you, because you know, you don't necessarily have to come back and yet, you know, I want you to be independent. I want you to be empowered. That says, you know what, I don't need them anymore, but I know how to live this lifestyle of eating healthy. What can I eat? What shouldn't I eat? What can help me alleviate some of the illnesses? You know, if I switch my lifestyle to something healthier, maybe I can get rid of my type 2 diabetes, you know, stop taking the medication, you know, things like that.
So just to step back for a second. So you said you moved to Orlando in 2019. I just kind of want to get our timeline.
Yeah.
2019. And that's when you started Butterfly Lifestyles.
Yes, it was registered May 2019.
So you were doing this about, what's that, like 6 months? And then 2020 hits, we start hearing about COVID. You know, when did you like realize, okay, we've got to make a change, shift focus from just like health and wellness to food insecurity?
So the interesting thing is, it got registered in May. And like I said, I was focused on competition. You know, I was tunnel vision. I was like, you know what, the nonprofit got registered, but I still want to do at least 2 more shows and I'll get to it. And but the nonprofit's first event was in September 2019. It was called Enlightenment, and I had guest speakers from Mind, Body, and Soul. And one of the best things that could have ever happened to me is that my coach is just a pastor and his wife. And I remember just even when I met them back in 2018, they were the first people who ever spoke, in my opinion, like really spoke into me, like, you know, this transformation of yours is gonna help others. And I'm just like, I don't see it, I don't believe it. But they never let up. They were like, God's gonna use this, you know, you're gonna help others with this. And so they believed in me so much. And I remember my coach, she helps me with posing, and she said to, you know, she called me her butterfly. And I remember at first I was like, butterfly, and then it kind of sat on me, and then I said, you know, I'm gonna name it Butterfly Lifestyle. So that's why it's called Butterfly Lifestyle, and she loved it. So you know, that's why it has that name. And then so for that event, I had, you know, mental health speaker, a doctor for physical health, and I had them to do spiritual health and just overall health. And then so I had that where, you know, people came and they did yoga. We had some activities for the kids. And then I planned a mental health event. And then by December, I was saying to my board, I feel like we need to add a food in. So I'm spending my Christmas Googling and searching what's in Orlando, what's in the area, how can this work? And then everybody's like, Shereece, that's like a 5-year down the road plan. And I said, it seems that way because we just don't have the funds for it. And then in February, right before COVID shut us down, I had a health event and a health expo. So I had, you know, different health screenings. So you can come and get your BMI, cholesterol, HIV screening. I had doctors, anything in the medical field. You could come out and see the vendors. And then I was going to follow that up with workshops to kind of, now you know your information, let's educate. And then COVID hit. And I was like, oh, I really, you know, said I'm trying to help people through, you know, Zoom, Skype, whatever whatever it's possible. And I'm still saying to my board, we need to do food. And they're saying, you know, we just don't have the funds for it. You know, we don't have the funds for it. So then I got furloughed. And then that led to me like, you know what, now I can actually read. So I'm like reading up on, you know, different things. I even got a SCORE mentor, and I was trying to like, how can we get a grant for this? How can we do this? And then my church, I go to Discovery Church, and then they invited me to their missions luncheon. And then I met another food pantry called Servants Hearts Ministry. And then so I connected with the director there, and then, you know, he's trying to help me figure out how can we do this. And then he's like, you could be one of our partners and, we could provide food. And so it was always something going on. And I'm hitting these walls where I was like, I don't have funds to get a building. I don't have, but it was something that kind of sat on me from 2018 that I probably need to introduce food in, but it was just how. And then I got the opportunity to have a free space. And that's how I ended up in Pine Hills. I got a random Instagram message just saying, we saw that you had your first nonprofit event. You had your nonprofit event at Barnett Park. Are you willing to work in Pine Hills? There's a building, that has lots of space. Would you be willing to come and check it out and see? And I remember going there and not knowing who I was going to meet, because Instagram didn't even have like a picture that I could say, is this safe or not?
Yeah, right.
And I remember going there. It was right before Christmas too. And at Christmas, it gets dark early. So it was dark. And this fella had on, this guy 7, he had on his mask. And I was, my board's like, you're alone. You got to be careful. And they're on the phone like, you got to be careful. And I'm like, I'll be careful. It says it's a church, kind of thing. And, but I felt at peace entering. And I remember speaking to the pastor and he said, what are you interested in doing? And I said, I really want to have a food pantry. And he said, Second Harvest, unfortunately, Second Harvest can't partner with us because they have too many, partners in the area. There's one across the street. But if you can find food, go for it. And I said, okay. And that's, so I start pulling all my resources. I remember Servants Arts Ministry got me connected to another nonprofit. They started helping me figure out different channels. Like, did you try here? Did you contact this place? And I spent time on the computer, searching, connecting, just networking to really be able to get to where it is right now. And I do a lot of praying.
So where does the food come from and how do you distribute it so that you make sure that you are meeting people's nutritional needs and providing healthy food?
So right now I'm connected with Food Donation Connection and Food Rescue. And then, so when I first started, I used the zip code at the church. And then they just called me and they're saying like, they gave me Wawa. That was it, just Wawa. And then I remember Servants Arts Ministry, because like I said, the director, he's really nice, and they contacted him about Outback, and he said, I think Butterfly Lifestyle would prefer Outback. So then they contacted me, and then another nonprofit's like, hey, we have Publix. Would you like Publix? And then they started giving me their Publix. So it ended up where Food Donation Connection even contacted me, and they said, hey, your zip code, the zip code of your nonprofit is a better zip code than the zip code that you have for your food. So, because between the church and where I live is about 20 miles. Yeah. So I jokingly say, I have 20 miles to find food in between. So that's the motto. That's the mindset I have.
This is food that like a Publix can't sell or is going bad. Okay. Like produce.
So the surplus food items. So like, for example, if you go to Publix, there's these sell by dates. It doesn't mean that it's expired. It's just the date it has to be sold by. So then those have to go out. Same thing if I go to like Outback. So I have 3 Starbuckses, Wawa, Longhorn, Outback, Panera Bread. I actually just kept Googling. Like I was like, Lord, I need more food. And I kept Googling. So I got bread and pastries. So I guess I was there at 8:00 at night when the store closed, and they gave me bags of bread and pastries and, stuff like that. So it's basically, so for Panera, it's anything they're not using at the end of the day. So bread, pastry, stuff like that because they bake it fresh, they get rid of it. Outback on Longhorn, they'll tend to give you like baked potatoes, sweet potatoes. Sometimes you get sirloin, sometimes you get some prime ribs. There's also, I've seen salmon, I got mac and cheese last week. So I never know. I got milk. Sometimes there's milk because Longhorn said, hey, do you just want potatoes? And I said, whatever you want to give me.
Right. Yeah.
So there's times I see different things, coming through and I'm like, yes. And then, so it's basically like that. And then other nonprofits who would just call me, hey, Butterfly, we don't need all this. Do you want it?
Wow.
And then, so I spent a lot of time driving.
I love the camaraderie that takes place, you know, and the teamwork that goes into this to make sure that food is not being wasted and it's getting into people's hands who really need it. What has the reception been like among people who've come there looking for food, but they end up with like, you know, whole health services?
You know, so for me, it's I don't realize the impact I have on people at times. It's when they stop and they say, hey, thank you so much. Or, you know, because one of the things is that when I spoke to you guys before, we've only mentioned Friday food distribution and occasionally and once a month Saturday. But what wasn't mentioned is that on Sundays, I pick up Publix as well. And so I have, and another nonprofit gives me their Wawa on Saturdays, you know, like whatever they pick up on Saturday, they don't want it. So there's times I have Starbucks and Wawa and Publix bread and pastries. So every Sunday I actually attend my church, and then I drive to Pine Hills and I set up a table. And the church itself has its main church, and then they rent space to another church. And I set up the table so both churches get their food. And, you know, so even this week, you know, they're say, hey, I need to lose weight. I'm pre-diabetic. How can you help me? You know, and they're like, okay, Shereece, we're not taking the Wawa sandwiches anymore. Okay. And I'm like, yeah. And I'll try to educate, like, while I'm there, like, you know, like, look at this, for example, a sourdough bread. It has no fat, but it has carbs, you know. It has no sugar, so it's like, try to choose something a little bit healthier, take a rye bread, take a wheat bread, you know, instead of just taking the cakes, you know. And then, for example, it's like, oh, it's my birthday, but I wanted a cake. And I was like, you know, there's, you know, you can take a slice of cake versus, you know, a whole cake, you know, things like that. So I like helping. It's just part of my nature where I find joy helping. And people are like, then why don't you do it as a business? And I said, you know, it gives me more joy when, you know, I do it just out of the kindness of my heart versus me saying, let me put a price tag on it. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but.
Absolutely. And you obviously can see the people that you are helping. And I have to imagine they're just so thankful and grateful for, you know, whatever you're providing, whether it's food or knowledge or anything to help them live a healthier life.
Yeah, I feel bad when I don't have enough food. And then the car's like, you're finished? Or like, you're finished so early? I'm like, we're so sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know, so I always pray for more food. That's always my prayer. Like, can I get more food? You know, can I try to streamline it? Because in the end, I really don't want it to just be a Friday thing. I want you to be able to come in whichever day of the week. If you know, because you could need, you know, you get on Friday, but if that's finished, what happens the rest of the week? Do you starve? Do you just, you know, so I want to be able to, pardon?
How big is the need? How many people are you seeing week in, week out?
So, for example, like 2 Saturdays ago, 2 weeks ago, we did the Friday food distribution. So usually it's as much, you know, we can see as over 100 carts depending on how much food we have. Because there's times we have a lot of food, and then there's times we have less. You know, depends on what I picked up for the week or what other nonprofits organizations decide they want to send my way to help out. And then so we did the drive-through distribution, and then on Saturday I received. I have food from Southeastern Food Bank, and being a faith-based organization, Food Bank, they like their food to go out as an outreach where you spread the gospel, evangelize. And then we end up doing 69 families, which were 69 cars, which totaled out to about 250 people. Mm-hmm. And that was with our Friday distribution. And that's not counting the people who attend the church, who gets stuff on a Sunday, who didn't come on a Saturday, who didn't come on a Friday, you know. So there's always a line, there's always a need. And, you know, so when someone says, well, the pandemic's over, you know, the need isn't there, the need is there. People would not be lining up ahead of time, you know, trying to reserve their space in the, you know, just to get some food. That's how I see it. Because we have lines that extend to the street at times, you know, most days. Most times it goes all the way to the street. So we try to start quickly or ask them to make 2 lines if it gets really too bad. But there are people who will start lining up at 10:30 knowing that we start at 11:30. And sometimes if we're running behind, it's not till 12. And they'll find a spot under a shade, or, you know, they'll call, you know, they'll even start and say, hey, I really got to go. Can you just give me something? And, you know, so the need is there.
So where do you hope to see yourself in 5 years from now?
Oh, I would like this nonprofit to be just huge, you know, just to be able to help as many people as possible. So I know everyone thinks my dreams are far-fetched in maybe another 10 years, but my prayer, my hope for the nonprofit, for the organization is to have that building space to be able, I want you guys to come through and I'll call you when I get it, have that building space. If you need exercise, even if you need to work out, we should have enough space for you to do a workout. If you want something to eat, you should be able to find something to eat. You should not have to go hungry. We should have a pantry that's fully stocked, be able to accommodate your nutritional needs. If you need some guidance with your life, I call it lifestyle coaching, not life coaching, let's find what's hindering you from really embracing a healthy lifestyle. Is it that you're emotional eating? Is it that you're, if you're a stress eater, is it that you need education? Let's figure out what's going to empower you on this journey to really live your fullest. And so we have that. And if you just need nutrition guidance, we're there. If you want to have some workshops, that's my vision. Like, we have these workshops, we educate, we have fun, and we live our best lives, right?
And when people you meet hear your story and hear that you've lost 100 pounds, what is their reaction?
So in the beginning, I used to just kind of speed through it, like, I lost 100 pounds, and now I've learned to pause because everyone goes, wow, oh, wait, they go, wait. When I used to speed, wait. And so now I pause and I allow them to say, wow. And then it still doesn't really sink in sometimes that was me. Because the interesting thing is that my father, because we're Jamaican, so he hasn't seen me in a few years, and I sent him the before and after that you guys saw on from Paul, and he knew I lost weight because he saw the pictures in between. But when he saw the before and after, he was just like, wow, I never knew you were this big. I didn't know you were that fat. I didn't know, it's like seeing the before and after, and that's the effect everyone has, like, wow, are you serious? There's people who are like, you lost a whole person. And I was like, so it's things like that. And then but the flip side to that is there's people who judge me on my current size, who say, well, you don't understand what we're going through. You're so small, you're so tiny, you don't know what it's like to be overweight. You don't know what it's like to struggle with this, insecurities. You don't know. And I do know. Mm-hmm. I wore a mask for most of my life. So I tell everyone, I started living in 2018. That's where essentially what I tell people. In 2019, I used to walk around calling myself 2.0. And no one could understand why. But for me, it was, I'm now alive. I was surviving. Now I'm living. Because, a healthier lifestyle has given me, the ability to, like I said, I didn't know I could run. Now I can run. I can run 7 miles in an hour. And that's with me still recovering from my ankle injury. If I really push myself, I could probably do more. So that's me just kind of even not really, it opens up your mind to the impossible is what I call it. Mm-hmm. Anything that you thought was impossible, like, maybe I can't do it. Now you kind of have that thought mindset, like, you know what? Maybe if I give it a little bit, push myself a little bit more, I could accomplish anything. So now I don't say I can't. I say, let me try it and see what happens, right? So that's
I think it's such an important story for people to hear. Obviously food insecurity is just such a growing problem, not just in our community, but across the country. And it seems like we've been covering this for years as not getting any better, sadly enough. Yeah. And, with inflation and all of the other pressures that are going on, we can only assume that that's only going to get worse. But then to have someone like you who's, been able to overcome so many issues and show people that they too can do that and get results for their health in the process, I think that's a wonderful message for them.
And I want people to understand that healthy food doesn't have to be bad, taste bad.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing. Cause I remember, I think it was people keep saying, well, no offense, but you're small. You don't know what good food tastes like. And I was like, let me just explain. Whatever size you saw in that picture, I'm maybe twice the size in there. I'm not going to be super obese person inside right now because I work out, so I burn more, kind of thing. But one of the things that people don't know is that I love cooking. So behind the scenes, when I have time, I actually try to take just a regular meal and transform it into something a little bit, something that's healthy, but is just, but tasty. So for example, like, you like fried rice, instead of doing a regular fried rice, I might do a cauliflower fried rice, and then I might put some sweet potato in there because my meal, when my coach gives me a meal plan, he puts sweet potato, or rice. So instead of doing the rice, I'll do sweet potato, do cauliflower fried rice, put a little bit of sweet potato to add the carbs in, but you're still getting like this big meal. You might get this full-fledged big meal, and you're looking like, man, that's a lot of food. Like one of my friends, she's like, I'm so jealous. And you add some vegetables in there, so I'm adding like zucchini, butternut squash. You add the vegetables to it, and then so you're filling up on vegetables, and you're having something healthy. Another thing I did once was I made a meat crust for pizza instead of so I've had meat crust, I did broccoli crust, cauliflower crust. I've actually done a broccoli crust, and then instead of tomato sauce, I pureed sweet potato. And then, so that was my sauce. So everyone thinks they're sauce, but it doesn't look like they're sauce, but it's not sauce. And then I added, protein. So I had my chicken, and then at the time my coach said I could have cottage cheese. So I took cottage cheese from another meal. And I said, that milk won't have cottage cheese, and I sprinkle a little bit on top. And, and people are like, that looks delicious, but who does that? And I'm like, me,
I love it.
Like that. So even like my sister, she was sick. She had surgery a few months ago, and they told her to do like a low fat diet. And she was like, egg whites is nasty. I don't know how you do this. And she's complaining about the food. And then she said to me, you know what? I started to say to myself, what would Shereece do? Because Shereece's food doesn't look like food, like healthy food. What would Shereece do? So she started doing these things, and she's like, it tastes a lot better. And I was like, yeah, So, and that's something else I like to try to explain to people. You don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to give up, by eating healthy. If you like your herbs and spices, whatever your culture is, put that culture in your food. So you look at my pantry right now, you'll see a lot of herbs, spices, everything in between. I like spicy, so there's spicy stuff in there. But you put yourself in there. Don't lose yourself because you're on a diet. Yeah. If you're making it a lifestyle, it's who you are,
So before we get going, because our time's wrapping up,
yes.
I apologize, but where can people find you? Where can they donate, volunteer, all that stuff?
So the website is called butterflylifestyle.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram. If you go to the website, you can donate there. If you wanted to Cash App, it's $Butterfly Lifestyle. That's pretty much the fastest and easiest way to get to me. I think in my mind, I'm trying to think. So yeah, I think for Instagram, it is at Butterfly Lifestyle Inc. I remember our Facebook got hacked, so I had to change the name. So it might have been, if I'm not mistaken, it's at the Butterfly Lifestyle Inc. is what Facebook is, but Instagram is Butterfly Lifestyle Inc. And then the website again is butterflylifestyle.org.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Shereece Mitchell, and we wish you nothing but the best. You're doing a lot of good work, helping a lot of people, meeting a lot of their needs. So thank you so much. Keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. You
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Shereece Mitchell from Butterfly Lifestyle. You can find her nonprofit online at butterflylifestyle.org. You can also find it on Facebook by searching The Butterfly Lifestyle, and on Instagram, look for Butterfly Lifestyle INC. Be sure to follow Lisa Bell online. Search Lisa Bell News on Facebook and Instagram, or Lisa Bell News 6 on Twitter. A big thank you to our technical producers, Derek Mosier and Ryan Haley. I'm the show's producer, Thomas Mates. Please take the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or tell a friend about us. And you can find videos of all of our podcasts at clickorlando.com/Florida Foodie, and be sure to sign up for the Florida Foodie newsletter while you're there.